let's talk and to get us started. And then the floor is yours as always. But I was going to just share this is for the group too, you all. As you all know, I have a huge affinity and admiration for Mike. I was thinking about this. I just came from hooping, Mike, playing ball, and I wanted to get off the court, but we were winning. And then I got on the court, right? And I thought about it. I was walking to my car, and if anybody knows LA Fitness after 5, it's like you got to take the long walk home. And so I'm taking this long walk home, and now I have this force processing circle that's happening. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, man, Mike brings out the sensible ratchetness and pettiness out of me. So that's how I'm feeling, sensibly ratchet and petty. Um, so that's where I
Because
would
I
start.
snatched you off of your winning streak.
No, I think you allow me to say what I want and need to say,
Mm.
unfiltered. Yeah, I'll start there. How about yourself?
I'm feeling full. I had um, a moment earlier today. I think it was before my first circle. Yeah, it was. It was before my first circle, and I was processing my day and everything, and I had a whole surge of overwhelm happen in me, and I could feel the
Mm,
tears coming. I didn't necessarily know what it was about just yet, but I know I needed to cry, and so I went into the other room and I asked my partner, "Hey, you get into bed with me and hold me while I get some of this overwhelm out?" And she's like, "Sure," because she's beautiful like that, and
mm,
allowed me to be able to just sob my shit out. And it was really just um, there was so much happening today. I had a couple of private clients, I had a couple of circles, I had this thing, and I was just being flooded with I hope that I am giving people what they need. And there's
mm,
so many hurt people that I'm going to be connecting with today, and I just want to be enough. And that was like kind
mm,
of the overwhelm and everything as I'm trying to also navigate some document things for when I'm going to be
mm,
traveling later on this month, and some other couple of things that have some details. And so the convergence of this emotional surging as well as this overwhelm and mental processing of like paperwork stuff just like had me all pent up and everything. And so after I was able to let that out, I was free enough to come into that, to get into that first circle, got that, and the momentum started going from there. Had my partner come and remind me, more than a couple of times, your presence is enough, and so that kept me grounded as I was able to go through the day. So I'm feeling pretty full today.
mm. Hey, listen, I think if there's first off, man, I appreciate the fact that you have called into this space with everyone that they hear what we feel, right?
Hmm.
That you are striving to hold space for others while still authentically engaging with the beauty of our suffering, our pain, our joys, and I think this. Speaking of full, let me say that. Let me say that. Speaking of full, in terms of staying at home, traditions, practices, and rituals, right? One thing I think we all know as I do a brief introduction in terms of Mike, right? I was thinking about how would I introduce or reintroduce Mike. And one way I realize is that I don't have to. Mike will always bring who he is and what he wants you to know about him at the forefront of this conversation. So when we think about process circle, you all, I think what you just saw here, right, is what I would hope in terms of how we greet each other, right? We process beyond the surface, right? We
Hmm.
get into that aspect of that somatic learning and recognizing that being held is not just a desire, it's something that actually causes me to hold space for myself and be held and hold space for others. So Mike, man, I just want to say one, thank you for allowing us to hear what a process circle would feel, look like. And my hopes is that everyone, as you're listening in here, and as I stop talking, I would hope that one, you let us know where you're logging in. And when you think about what you're processing, right? What you're processing, what is it that you're processing right now? If you could put a word to it, if you could put a body sensation to it, and if you don't have words, put that out there, right?
Hmm.
And as we're navigating this space, Mike, I guess what I would ask you is what feels most honest for you on in terms of where we should start.
There's a couple of things that come to mind. Um, well, first, I'll go off of what you were talking about, process and a process
Mm,
circle. So I'm kind of like on the forefront of trying to name these circles, these different types that we can go into. Venting circle, information circle, resource circle, stuff like that. And so learning circle and process circle are the ones that I've been playing around with when it comes to these master classes. And so this process circle, when we're thinking about
mm,
process, there's a series of um, cycles happening. Some churning, some deconstructing, some reconstructing. There's some process. There's a whole bunch of events happening in a row, and that's a process. For me, when I'm thinking about especially this particular process circle, I'm looking to bring more of that unspoken uh, learning to the table. So what we're going to do in this process circle is we're not going to do a whole lot of the verbal sharing that we're used to sharing. I'm not going to keep y'all completely quiet like I do in my sense of self room until the end, but I definitely want us to bring intentionality to the words that we're going to be sharing with each other, because this process that we're in about staying home is a process. And so I'm going to introduce a practice, and I'm hoping to do it like at least 3 times during the course of this hour. But first, I'm going to define some things. I'm going to put something over in the chat. So over in the chat, I just put some things to help us orient. For those of y'all that come to my sense of self circles on Saturday and Sunday at noon Eastern, I do a contemplation and orientation, and then at the end we do a reflection. And so to get us into that place of orienting to what we're about to do, we need to define a couple of things. This whole thing is called staying home for the holidays, but what is a holiday and what is home? So I put a couple of things up in there. So a holiday, usually people are looking at it as a break from work. But when I've broken it down and look at the different traditions and celebrations and rituals that we participate in some of these seasonal shifts and seasonal changeovers, it's all about resting, resourcing, reflecting, or reckoning. One of those 4 things is happening when it comes to any of these things, that these holidays that we show up at. Either it's a time for rest, or we're like exchanging gifts, so we're resourcing each other when it comes to that. We might be reflecting on things past. So even when it comes to what's that? Memorial Day, we're remembering things in the past, so we're reflecting. And then some are reckoning. There's like, oh, we have to come to terms with with our humanity, with our, with this wound that we had, or something like that. So that's in our holiday. That's a kind of quick and dirty definition. Those little 4 ingredients. And then when it comes to home, home usually it's like, okay, it's where you live, where I live, and more than that, it's we have different definitions that show up, like where you rest, like where you hang your hat and where you rest, where you're able to let the mask off and take the armor off, where you dwell. That's almost like where you live, but also it can be when I use that word dwell purposely, because we can dwell on something. When you think about dwelling on something, is what a lot of people call rumination. So we're dwelling on something. Where you dwell is also where you're living at the moment, and so that's your home. Where you grew up, where you grew. So if you think about, oh, I live in LA, but I grew up in New York, so New York is home. And so that's another one of those definitions that come up for home. And then, of course, there's that home is where your heart is. And your heart, same thing as dwell, wherever your heart is pointing, that can be where your home is, because your heart wants to be in a safe place. And so that can be your home. But for me, when I look at heart, I go straight to the body. So your home, when I came up with staying home for the holidays, I was thinking staying in your body, staying in this ecosystem that supports and sustains you. Now, home doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. That's the part that I want to make sure to be clear about. When it comes to you hearing home, that doesn't necessarily mean good. And so when I'm talking about staying home, I'm not looking to, oh, stay in a good place, stay in a good feeling place. I'm just talking about being with all of the consequences, all of the wounds, all of the joys, all of the dreams, all of the things happening in your body. And that's where we get to embodying your holiday. We're over the course of these next 3 weeks, we're going to be reflecting on the past, projecting into the future, reckoning with the present. That responding to self is yours to do after that. Because once these 3 weeks are up, then those late December holidays will be right there for us to take everything that we've processed over the course of these 3 weeks and start to integrate that so we can put it into practice when those days come. And so that's where I want to start. What do you think about that, Dinar?
Just thinking about that staying at home is grounded, and you really hit home in that. Oh, no pun intended. All pun intended. I'm ready. I'm ready to start, man. I'm very much excited because I think this is really going to help. Like you said, embody, and I can't help but steal your words. Just know I just screenshotted this, and I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right, cool. So the first thing that I'm going to put up, or not first, that's not the first thing because I already put something up. Uh, to go into our first practice, where did this thing go? And why is it hiding from me? That ain't cool. All these pictures that y'all be sharing in these circles that I'm in, I keep downloading them and then they show up at the very top of my selecting photos list. Boom, there we go. So I put a tile over in the chat. We're in this first week of this 3 week process, and the first thing we're gonna do is slow down. Most of y'all in this circle know me and you've heard me. And so you heard that my little mantra for myself, slow down, stretch out, feel through. And that's what we're going to be doing over these next 3 weeks. This first one is slow down. This is a slow down process. I use a particular practice that we're going to do right now. It's a 3-2-1. It's 3 pauses, 2 minutes, one prompt. So we're going to do the 2 minutes part of being with our breath in terms of slowing down. That question, where are the holidays taking you, is what is the question, the prompt that you'll just sit with for these 2 minutes. We'll break it down. I'll break it down once we get through with those 2 minutes. But when I ask the question, where are the holidays taking you? What I'm getting at is this time of year is here. The day is coming. You've had however old you are, you've had that many cycles of that holiday. So there's something that the rhythm is already there and your body is already getting itself ready for it. Your emotions are already like responding to it and your mind is already orbiting around it. And so those holidays are taking you somewhere. And usually they take us to what we've experienced in the past. So the question is all about, what holidays have you experienced? You have this one that's coming up in the late December for you. You might have multiple that's showing up for you. So, where, when you think about the upcoming holiday, what is it reminding you of? Where is it taking you? And so, what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 minutes, and I'm going to have this 2 minutes be in silence. Now, I want you to, I'm going to let you know. I will let you know when the 2 minutes is over. I will not get apt. I will not leave. So when you get in the middle of those 2 minutes and you're wondering, is it? It's got to have been 2 minutes. It hasn't been because I ain't said that it's 2 minutes yet. Okay. So in those 2 minutes, all you're really going to do is focus on your breath. You're going to focus on all the components of your breath. The breath shifts our relationship with time, and it brings us closer to the present because we cannot breathe in the past or the future. Being with our breath is about being in the present. So I'm going to have y'all go ahead and start getting your awareness into your breath right now. How fast or slow is your breath? How deep or shallow is your breath? How warm or cool is your breath? How loud or quiet is your breath? Denard's might be pretty loud because he's walking after playing ball. So, how loud or quiet? So, be with that breath and stay with it as your mind starts tapping you on your shoulder, as your body starts feeling some stuff, as some emotions start showing up for you. Just be with that breath. Start the 2 minutes in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go. And time. So that was 2 minutes. For many of y'all, that was the longest 2 minutes in the whole universe. For some of y'all, it's like, oh yeah, that was about 2 minutes. And for some of y'all, it might have been a little bit fast. But it's all about taking the speed of our minds that have been fed a whole lot since birth. Hey, we got to use your mind to manipulate the world around you and manipulate yourself. And slowing it down to this body process of breath, taking in resource, integrating what's needed, and letting loose, exhaling what you don't need, any waste that came from the body. That's its own process. Our bodies have its own time. And a lot of times we're going way too fast for it. And so we get back to our breath. We get back to those body processes to slow ourselves down a little bit. And so over in the chat, I reposted that picture with that question, where are the holidays taking you? And then there's some questions that are in bold underneath that kind of break that question down for you about where the holiday is taking you. And so that very first part of the caption, the slow down, there's a couple of different things that we're doing when we're slowing down. One is we're taking a moment to see the scenery. So just imagine you're driving down a neighborhood going 100 miles an hour. How many How many house address numbers can you see? Do you notice the colors that are in any of the windows? Do you notice any windows if you're speeding that fast down the street? And so when you slow yourself down enough, take your foot off the gas, you can see a whole lot more of the scenery. Now, if you're on a highway and you're going that fast, you might have some off ramps that you want to take. Hey, I know that I'm heading towards something bad. I want to take this off ramp, but I think I'm going too fast. I'm going to crash if I try to turn off that off ramp. Slowing ourselves down allows us to be able to even see the off ramp, or maybe we have multiple off ramps. We have multiple choices available to us to do something different than this momentum that's taking us speeding forward. So, this first week is all about the slowdown. The questions that are breaking down the where are the holidays taking you, I talked about the stuff from the past. What December holidays did you grow up participating in? What was your experience participating in those December holidays growing up? And what December holidays have you participated in over the last few years? Because that could be very different than how you grew up. You might have when you decided to, make a family or become an adult, that, you know what, the way that I did holidays before, I'm not going to do them like that. I'm going to do them like this. And so that's where I have the over the last few years. And then what was your experience participating in those December holidays over the last few years? So that experience from the deep past and the experience from the recent past are usually one of the two things that are going to be showing up for you, or maybe both of them will show up for you as this upcoming holiday uh, holiday events show up. And so I brought that breathing into play because, like I said, we're going to get to share, but please be intentional about your share. We don't want to go too long. We don't want to explain too much. We want to sit right there in the pocket of which ones did I participate in and what was my experience of that? And just sitting there. We don't want to go too far ahead. We don't want to keep staying, going way, way, way back and trying to explain things. We want to stay right here, slow with the answer that shows up for us there. Feel into that and then sift through it to see what parts of what showed up for you that you want to share. Denard, what you got?
That's interesting. You shared that. And the thing that came up for me, one, is I didn't actually have the cultural context, the upbringing of the December holidays. Um, but as I was raised here in America, I started to notice like the fact that going back years past, that I started to adopt certain things. And the other thing that came up for me when the first question in terms of slowing down was where the holiday was taking me to. It was taking me to the reality that I have to deal with some estrangement that's happening in my family, and I've been avoiding it. So that's what's coming up for me.
Mm. Estrangement in your wider family or from your wider
With my
family?
family of origin,
Okay.
specifically with my parents. So it's interesting.
Yeah. 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 And that's one of the reasons why we don't slow down is because we'll um, feel more of the bumps in the road, more of the potholes in the road if we're going that slow. Oh man, that one goes
Mm.
really deep. The estrangement. Ooh. Oh, I don't know if I want to feel that one. Let me speed up a little bit.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I open it up to a couple of people to share. What shows up for you with those questions? What December holidays did you grow up with, and what was your experience? What December holidays did you have over the last few years, and what was the experience of that? All right, we'll take those three shares. We'll just have those be our three for now. We have Kathy, Chelsea, and Susie. Go ahead, Kathy.
What a dynamic duo to have MiiK and Denara in the same space. Wow. Uh, so for me, what December holidays did you grow up participating in? Briefly, those holidays were, um, there was a lot of angst. Um, there was not peace. And most of the holidays weren't as I experience them now with my own children. Um, what was your experience participating those, oh, good golly, December holidays growing up? Okay, well, basically, the holidays growing up were ones that were not to be celebrated.
Mm.
The holidays came with gifts that had strings. And when gifts were given, they weren't received as gifts. So that's all I'll say about that. What December holidays have you participated in over the last few years? I am so thankful to participate in the holidays with my grown girls and create new traditions. We have a funny thing, and I say, "Do you believe in Santa?" And my kids will say, one of them, when she was a teenager, she said no, and the other one said yes. But they know now, even though they're 25 and 28, if I say, "Do you believe in Santa?" and we banter about it and joke, they get a special gift from Santa, just for fun. Um,
Mm.
the holidays that I am creating with my grown daughters are the holidays that I wished I had
Mm-hmm.
when I was younger. I am creating the holidays with them that I wished I had had, and I am celebrating with them while we're in it. And so that's what I'll say tonight.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Kathy. All right. Let's go to Chelsea.
Okay. So holidays, well, Christmas, I did Christmas and it was magical growing up. Some of them were disappointing, but that's kid life.
Uh-huh.
um, the past years have not been magical. Put in so much effort and energy and trying to make it magical. But what's the last question? Um, oh yeah, so my experience participating in those December holidays, I've just done all the work and
Mm-hmm.
I like stayed up till 3 a.m. wrapping and doing all this. So it's been hectic. Um, so definitely different. My past, it's not going to be different or it's going to be good this year, but
Mm-hmm.
it's been a stark contrast from my growing up to the past 6 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can you remember when the magic went away for you?
It was well with in my relationship. It was just it was constant criticism. Though I was
Mm.
putting in all the work, and I would pick the presents. I would do the stockings. I would decorate. I would be like, look at this, look at all my effort, and it would be like not enough, or it would be too much. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was not the Christmas spirit that I wanted or needed. So that's a
Yeah.
really good question.
Mm. Thank you, Chelsea. Right. Susie.
Growing up, it was amazing. We had a big family that always got together. My granddaddy is Southern Baptist preacher, and my daddy is too. And um, it was just a beautiful time. The last 8 years, my husband and son and I have gone to the Caribbean. We have a place in St. Kitts for a month to stay through January the 11th, which is the death date of our daughter. She was
Mm.
18 and we had a house fire and she died in the house fire. And so this year he's going by himself and we're staying here. So it's going to be very different. I
Mm-hmm.
have no decorations. I haven't bought any new decorations. Um, I haven't ever been here during Christmas or her death date. So I'm a little nervous.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be okay. Um, but it's going to be different. It's going to be real
Mm-hmm.
different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ooh. Thank you, Susie. So I wanted to start with those shares just to get into the that question again of where are the holidays taking you? That question. So what each one of them shared was something that happened in the past that also has the opportunity, or not, I won't say the opportunity. It has the momentum. Yes, it has the momentum to show up and take us there when as this holiday approaches. Like Chelsea will either have the magic show up, like she says she wants to bring magic back so she can actually access that, but also that I have to do everything and the weight of that and the burden of all of that will also show up like, oh no, here it comes again. As if it's going to be the exact same way, even if you know that it's not going to be the exact same way. The way that it shows up in our bodies and in our minds and our emotions can make it feel like, oh, this is going to be the exact same holiday as I've had over the last few, or the exact same holiday that I had way back when I was a kid. And it doesn't necessarily have to be that way, but it presents itself. So we're taken by the holiday. And that's where we slow down. We get taken really fast. Just like I mentioned at the very beginning of this, we can get overwhelmed by something really fast and not even know where the hell we were being taken. But slowing down enough to see the scenery and notice any off ramps we can take is necessary. And so I'm gonna put us in another 2 minutes, and then we're gonna get another round of shares. Same questions. Now that you have a sense of what's being asked, you can even have that curiosity and aim your curiosity as you be with your breath, just aiming your curiosity in. What was my experience like when I was growing up in these holidays? What was my experience over the last few years with these holidays? And just being curious, not curious enough to take you away from your breath because you still want to stay present, but just being with that breath for 2 minutes. And so, Barbara, I'm going to get to you after we get to these 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Put my timer on. Everybody find your breath. Fast or slow. How deep or shallow. How warm or cool. How loud or quiet. Doing 2 more minutes being with that breath. In three, two, one, and go. Just say for anybody that's joining, we're in our with our breath for 2 minutes. I'll let us know when we're at the end. hand time. So, for those of y'all that may have wanted to put your hand, or that may have put your hand up before, and I was only taking those three, you had another opportunity to just write, feel into where this holiday is taking you. And so I'll take three more. So we have Barbara and then two more that come up after that. Go ahead, Barbara.
Well, when I was growing up, Christmas wasn't what I I I wanted it to be exactly, with there was cooking and feasting and stuff like that. And I would do a lot of even though I was a preteen, teen, I would do much of the work, but I wasn't treated like other members of the family in terms of gifts, etc. So when I got married, I ensured that Christmas was always a big celebration where I invited friends and family, the whole decoration, trimmings, and I tried to make it wonderful for my family and for my daughter, to create great and wonderful special memories. Then in 2020 December, Christmas became spoiled for me because I was separating from my narcissistic husband, and my daughter and I were together, and because he wasn't a part of that Christmas, he spoiled that for me. And my daughter and I has become estranged ever since. So since 2020 Christmas, I have been spending Christmas alone, and I will be spending this Christmas alone. So I'm not looking forward to this Christmas. Thanksgiving was extremely lonely.
Yeah.
And this Christmas will be very lonely because my daughter's not speaking to me. I don't know where she is. I don't know what's going on in her life. And so Christmas has become a very painful time for me.
Painful and lonely. So that's where this holiday is taking you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Barbara. All right. Helen.
Hi, good evening. I love the
Hello.
topics. I love the slowing down. So it doesn't seem too long. It feels really good to just sit in silence, but know we're not alone. I like it to
Yeah.
reflect. It's nice.
Yeah.
So my dad passed away in 2022, August. And, 4 months earlier, I had left my marriage of 22 years. I mean, not fully, but I've been with a guy 22 years. So, um, 22 and 23 have just been unusual, and just I mean I was prepared for them to be unusual, but where the holidays have been taking me this year, now that I'm a little bit more balanced thanks to circles, I was surprised how well I also liked okay, prior to my dad passing, what the holidays were was a lot of like watching the Christmas tree lighting, going to Christmas Eve candlelight dinner or candlelight service, and just trying to do as many community type things to enjoy the extra lights that are up and things of that nature. And I don't really have a little family to do that with anymore. So I'm really, I was more surprised on on Thanksgiving how alone I felt and how lonely it was. But I on the other side, and I'm going to try to do some of those things this year, even though I don't have a little family or a husband or anything. I'm just going to enjoy. I have already started enjoying the lights, and I bought the boxes in from I have way too much decoration. I don't think I'm going to go to nearly the level or the extent that I used to, but I'm going to still celebrate it. And I'm going to go to the candlelight service if I want to alone. I'll, of course, invite my 14-year-old. We've been in a repair mode for 2 years. She and I see each other every day, but she doesn't sleep in her bedroom here. She stays at her dad's, and it's still a repair. It's still a work in progress, but I'm going to try just to do things without expectation, because my big problem was having an expectation and then being let down, because that could sometimes present in anger, right? I would just blow up like, you're so ungrateful. And then that spoils the spirit of the holiday anyhow. And anyway, we know that it's all about progress, not perfection. And I'm just trying to teach her the humanness that we all have. And like, I just need to try to keep doing one thing in front, like put one foot in front of the other. So where the holidays are taking me is just a little bit back to my roots. Don't have to do it as I used to do it. I don't have to do it in scarcity like I did, like I don't have to do any, I don't have to do it all. I don't have to do nothing. I can do something in the middle. So I guess it just remembering the reason for the season and staying close to circles. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that repair that you're talking about, I posted back over in the chat the very beginning, the definitions, and so your upcoming holiday very much feels like a reckoning. There's that repair is reckoning with the kinds of um, wounding and harm and distance, etc., that were in the relational dynamic. And so there's a reckoning that's there. And you're reckoning with yourself, like, okay, I know I don't want to bring certain ingredients into this holiday. I want to have it be, like you said, a reason for the season. I want to do the resting, resourcing, reflecting, and reckoning that's necessary in a way that's healthy for me and whoever it is that's joining me in that. Mm, thank you. All right, and Jackie.
These are such good questions. Um, the the question about what are the holidays for me now is a question I've honestly been asking myself for the last 2.5 years since losing my father. And it's I'm very much in rediscovery phase as far as like, what do I really want my holidays and everything to be like at this point? Because obviously it's a big void in my life. But I I'm kind of rediscovering what I want it to be and really what means the most to me. And I think it's being around people I really care about and that treat me well. That's like a
Mhm.
big thing for me. And I don't speak to my mother anymore either. So it's like losing two parents and figuring out how are the holidays for me now. But I'm very grateful. I have an amazing boyfriend, and the way that I see it is that I'm going to create my own traditions now and
Mhm.
figure out what makes sense for me right now and before, I build my own family. So that's where I'm at.
Mm. Thank you for that, Jackie. Yeah, that redefining our holidays. That's what this 3-week process is about. And we get to that place and where those definitions come from in our third week, in that feel through place. And so here we're being taken. So before we do this practice one more time, I'm going to hear Susie, you have your hand up one more time to bring back something.
I just want to say thank you for this space, because for the first time in 8 years, I've realized that I'm staying home to deal with grief
Mhm.
that I've been running from, and leaving the country for a month at Christmas to not have to deal with it has
Mm.
been a cowardly thing to do. Cowardly, very cowardly. And um, I'm up for it, and I'm ready for it. And thank you for letting me become aware of that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I just offer the space, I offer the container, and it's all about what we do in those containers. And so I appreciate you sharing that. And I want to just put something right next to what you call cowardly. I'll just say that it's coping and it's survival, because maybe that pit of grief was way too deep and way too intense to just be in. And you needed a couple of years just to, all right, we're just gonna be away from that. And now you're realizing, okay, I might actually have the capacity to sit with this time. All right. Before we go into our last practicing session, let's check in with Denard. What you got showing up for you, Denard?
Man, it's like you in my head. It's okay. I got a big enough head for both of us, so I'm just gonna gift it to you. But in all honesty, Susie, I was going to say this, and I didn't shy away from it. But you actually, in your share in this space, um, I also noticed that the holidays were taking me to, but I also felt like it was taken away from me, because I am grieving the loss of my nephew. I'm about to grieve a loss of a close colleague that was murdered, and go attend a funeral shortly here. And I realized exactly what Susie was saying. Right after I shared, I realized that I was using the holidays to run away from grief, right? Because it puts me around people, keeps me busy, right? And so I didn't actually have the language that I was staying at home to also honor that grief can sit next to hope, right? But
Yeah.
I had to feel that and hear it. So appreciate that, man. Thanks for checking in.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And
Hey,
Denard brought it
you know
back
I gotta
around. Oh,
gift it. You know
go
I
ahead.
gotta gift it back to you. I'm not gonna let you slide. I'm gonna definitely let my England come in and say, I'm very curious now, knowing that, because I can see you being actively held. So I'm also curious of what's coming up for you in terms of reckoning or redefining. And if you're gonna get there later, feel free to go there later too.
Oh yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, for me, there's been so much deconstructing of holidays in general, overall for me. Um, I left kind of family way back in like '98 when I went out to Seattle, and so I did a whole lot of holidays just by myself, um, or with people that I had met out there, and not having a lot of that connection back to my childhood holidays. My childhood holidays were very magical, very very magical, and didn't have any uh, outward displays of nastiness or ugliness, and I don't feel like there was anything underneath. But something that someone said too was that there's a masking where they didn't say it, but what I translated was, is there a lot of masking that happens in the holidays, and so it can be like 364 days of bullshit, and then we have Christmas is all great. It's like, no,
100%.
it don't work like that. And so I deconstructed a whole lot of holidays to the point where my birthday is my favorite holiday, and everything else can just fall in line. And it's like all the other holidays must celebrate, must have a celebration of who I am built into them. And that's kind of like what shows up for me. Like as we're coming up on
Ooh,
this upcoming holiday, it's like,
wow.
okay, how am I going to be able to celebrate me during this? I appreciate you bouncing that back to me.
Yeah, bro. Thanks for sharing that. How am I going to celebrate me this holiday? I'm actually just going to drop off now because you just changed my life with that question.
Oof. Thank you, Dinar. Right. So we have one more. We're going to sit in those 2 minutes one more time. And in this one, instead of asking yourself a question or trying to do anything else that's for a share to come later, this is for you to be able to feel into, where am I being taken this upcoming holiday? I can be taken to magic. I can be taken to loneliness. I can be taken to a whole lot of stress because I have to do everything. Whatever it is, just parsing out what this holiday upcoming is taking you to. And if that has to do with what's happened in the deep past or in the recent past, just being able to sift through. You're slowing down so you can see the scenery. It's not all clumped together. We're slowed down enough where you can see, oh, this is where this is coming from. This is where this is coming from. This is where this is coming from. So, another 2 minutes. Go ahead and drop into that breath, the speed, the texture, the sounds. We got 2 more minutes starting right now. Those of y'all just coming in, we're at the end, we're coming toward the end of our 2 minutes being with our breath. And time. So, these last 5 minutes, I just want to offer you that this process that we did during the course of this hour is something that you have access to. If you have access to your breath, you have access to this process, slowing yourself down. And it doesn't even have to be about the holiday. We're using this as a container to introduce this, but it can be, oh, I'm getting a whole lot of mental flooding because there's a conversation that I need to have in a couple of days with somebody. So you can get into that breath and slow yourself down because that conversation isn't happening in the next minute. It's happening in a couple of days. And you can slow yourself down to the present to see what kind of supports that you can give yourself in preparation for that conversation. And it's the same thing about this holiday. You can get yourself to your breath when you feel that holiday surge show up, when you feel like a grief or a wound or another kind of emotion or a thought that comes out of nowhere, a memory that hits you out of nowhere, slowing yourself down enough to be able to see that scenery. And when those reflexes come and when those habits come and all of those really fast things that I get a stimulus and I make an action right off the end of it, we can slow ourselves down enough to feel through that stimulus, process that stimulus, and take an off ramp to a different action rather than a reaction. I also put over in the chat a little process group that I'm doing on Friday morning. I have a couple of other staying home groups that are going, and they're going pretty well, and they feature practices that we do in a container during the course of the week. And so it gives you a little bit more space to get into what's showing up for you than we have in this space. This space is really just about introducing that process, getting a little bit of sharing in that. But in that group, you can do a little bit more of a deeper dive for yourself. So before we close out, we'll hear from Jackie, then we'll go to Denard, and then we'll close on out. Go ahead, Jackie.
Yes, I'll be super quick. I just wanted to say thank you so much for your share about celebrating you, because what you shared really made me think, how do I celebrate me this holiday season? Like, what do I really want to do? And I've never asked myself that question ever
Mhm.
before. So I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm so very glad. It really is like in celebrating us, celebrating the fullness of us, mind, body, soul, emotions, wounds, dreams, all of us, the whole ecosystem of who we are. How can we celebrate that? We can celebrate it. The celebration can be as tiny as I'm just going to tend to myself. It can be tiny as I'm just going to stay in bed all damn day. It can be as tiny as I'm going to get myself that meal that I've been dreaming about for a long time. Or it can be as big as I'm going to go and watch fireworks in Paris. Whatever it is, celebrate you in that. Thank you, Jackie. Right, Denard, what you got to close us out, man?
Um, well, the most honest thing is me gifting back the space back to your voice. I'm going to just say that what I've taken away from this practice is that the holiday season for me is now wherever I can find the opportunity to heal. Where I'm staying at home is also knowing that whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, I'm finding what opportunity I can celebrate the grief, the reckoning, the repair, the estrangement in this space.
Mm,
So thank you for reminding me of that. And thank you all for reminding us of that. But I want to give back your voice to this space, man, as we
yeah.
close.
hmm Thank you for that, Denard. So yeah, staying home. And I'm glad that you brought that back around again, because staying home, home isn't defined as where you feel good. Home is where your heart is, and your heart might be among a whole lot of bad. So, staying home, staying in that body, embodying your holiday. The more that we're able to feel how uncomfortable we are, how pained we feel, the more likely there is for us to actually put some efforts toward shifting that, healing that, doing something different, introducing some more things that are supportive and healing for us. So use this process, use that 2 minutes, use that breath to get home and stay home as much as you can. You'll get pulled away from home. You're going to get taken from home, and you always have that path back. That's what I got for y'all. It's the end of our time. I want to thank y'all for sharing and being here with me. Thank y'all for participating in this process and really being with yourselves in this. And until next week, y'all make sure to slow down. Y'all take that tile with you. You take those questions with you, and you slow yourself down. So until next week, y'all take care of yourselves.